First things first, I love all 1,814 of y'all. Y'all really showed out for the last two videos when I did the top 10 missing heroes from Battlefront Part 1 and Part 2. I read the comments and soaked in all the feedback. So today I had to bring y'all the top 10 missing villains from Battlefront 2 as well. Now, just like the heroes, it's gonna have a Part 1 and Part 2. And I cannot wait to sit there and look at your guys' feedback while I'm making Part 2 for this video to make sure that the characters that I put in this game for the villains could actually fit among the roster that's already here for us. Because you gotta remember, the most important thing when you're adding new characters into any game is balance. So look, if you guys have been rocking out with the missing content playlist, let me know by hitting that like button, because if we can get this video to 100 likes, we'll do maps, we'll do features, we'll do game modes, we'll just do a whole flush of all the things that could have been in this game, because I'm only going to make the content that you guys want to watch. So if this isn't something that y'all want to see, we're definitely going to move into a different category in this game, or we're just going to go back to playing some Supremacy, HVV, Hero Showdown, and all that. So without further ado, we ain't going to waste any more time. Let's get it.
Who's the man?
Time to find out.
And I also want to take this time to say, just in case you're brand new and you haven't heard me say it before, make sure you follow your boy on Instagram if you don't want to miss a single YouTube video or TikTok. I'm posting on their updates all the time, and we're just talking things Star Wars on there. And if you want to have a regular one-on-one conversation about anything Battlefront or Star Wars related, hit your boy up on Twitter. I've been going back and forth with a lot of you guys, and we've actually had some really deep and interesting conversations about things that not only could have been in this game, but could have been in things like the Clone Wars and the movies, just fan fiction stuff. It's a great time, it's a great vibe, and it's the best way to get in contact with me. So with all that mumbo jumbo out of the way, let's hop right into the list. And remember, this is just part 1 where I go over the top 10 missing villains from Battlefront 2. Part 2 will have their abilities, outfits, and maybe even an honorable mention depending on how I'm feeling. At number 10, we got the Grand Inquisitor from Star Wars Rebel, who's such an interesting character just outside of that show. If you don't know, he was actually in Star Wars The Clone Wars and was one of the Temple Guard who was involved in the arrest of Ahsoka Tano while she was running away from the Republic. Now, not only would he be a fun character to play with in Star Wars Battlefront 2, but you also have to think about the fact that his character is going to reflect his abilities, and he was such an interesting character in Star Wars Rebels and beyond if you read into it. Not only that, but a lot of people would probably think that he'd be way too similar to Maul, but you also have to understand, like I said, character plays a huge role into the abilities and the way you should fight in this game. So I feel like he would be more on the duelist side like Dooku, but he'd also have some of that rage and sporadic moves like Darth Maul. Now, moving in at number 9, we have Greedo. There's not really much I have to say about Greedo because he's somebody that just should have been in the game at launch, especially considering the fact that he was in Battlefront 1, so there's not really much they have to change. It's just something that I was sad to see that didn't make its way into Battlefront 2, considering the fact that a lot of people in the community seem to like him, and actually, he was one of the only DLC characters in Battlefront 2015 that I actually got to play with, because if you don't know, I never actually got a chance to play the full DLC because I just never ended up getting the season pass, but I had a few buddies of mine that had it, so I went over to their house, and he was actually a really fun character to use. It's just a shame to see that all the characters from Battlefront 1 didn't make it into the actual final cut of the second game. And speaking of characters from Battlefront 1, the next person on this list at number 8 is going to be Dengar. Now, I know exactly who Dengar is. He's one of the bounty hunters that was sent after Luke Skywalker and the entire gang when Darth Vader wanted to hunt them down. Now, what I don't know about him is how he played in Battlefront 2015, so I'll definitely have to go back and play that. And if that's a video that you guys want me to drop, just me going back and actually playing that DLC in Battlefront 2015, let me know down in the comment section, and I can definitely do that, because either way, I'm going to have to do it because I'm going to be giving Dengar abilities, and I want to base them off the abilities he had back in the day, because I might not have played him myself, but I do remember how much the community loved him being in the game after about a week, because I do remember the backlash that EA was getting for adding these quote-unquote random characters into the game. And you gave it about a week or so, and everyone was like, oh my god, Dengar is so fun to play with. He ended up being a beloved Star Wars character just because he was added into this game. Now, at number 7, I have Mr. Cool, Calm, and Collected. I'm talking about the one and only Thrawn from Star Wars Rebels. Oh my goodness. First of all, the book on him was absolutely amazing. If you're into that kind of stuff, if you like legends and all that, please go read that book. It was one of my favorite books that I've ever read in my entire life. There's just so much things that get broken down about, not even about him, just about Star Wars in general, that really just changed my whole perspective. But look, I'm getting off topic. Let me tell you why I want him in Battlefront 2. Not only was his success rate basically 100%, but he was one of the most respected generals in the entire Grand Army of the Empire. His whole philosophy basically was, if you're gonna beat your enemy, you have to know your enemy. I mean, this guy right here was top tier crazy in the most calm and collected way. And look guys, if you have not given Star Wars Rebels the chance yet, you just gotta suck it up and go watch it. I know it's not the Clone Wars, and that's exactly where I was when I first started watching the show, but it ended up being a good show if you take Star Wars The Clone Wars out of your mind and appreciate it for what it actually was, because when he was introduced, the show took a whole new turn. But let's just move on from all that. He's one of my favorite characters in the entire Star Wars universe, but the next character I have on this list is also one of my favorite characters in the Star Wars universe. Surprisingly, it's going to be Trilla from Jedi Fallen Order. Now, I can pretty much write you an entire book if you want me to as to why she should be in the game, but let's just break it down into simple terms. If you actually paid attention to the moveset that she had in Jedi Fallen Order, if you played the game, she wasn't like any other villain that I've ever seen in the Star Wars universe. She wasn't just a regular Inquisitor. The way she was moving around, like, you could just tell there was something different about her than every other lightsaber user that I've personally seen in my life. She's definitely a character that got positive feedback, in my opinion, from everybody that I talked to who played Jedi Fallen Order. And I know for a fact when a lot of us got back on Battlefront 2, we were thinking in our heads, man, I wish Trilla and Cal Kestis were in Battlefront 2 because, like I said, they're just really nice characters. But moving on to number 5, we got director Krennic out of Rogue One himself. Another character I didn't get to play with, so he's on the list of people that I have to go back to the old Battlefront and play. But I've seen Rogue One about 512 times, so I also have about like 10 or 11 abilities off the top of my head that I'd give him. And it might even make it more interesting if I give him abilities before I go back and play him, because I'd be a little biased if I'm already playing with him and end up liking him in Battlefront 2015. And I really do honestly hate repeating myself, but I'm gonna say it. Why was he not in Battlefront 2 if he was in the first one? Now, coming in at number 4 is somebody I know we all bowed down and put our hands together and prayed for, but we never ended up getting, unfortunately, and that's gonna be my man Cad Bane. One of the greatest and well put together bounty hunter characters and just characters in general in the Star Wars universe. Everything about this guy being in Battlefront 2 would be exciting, and down to abilities, outfits, emotes, voice lines, you name it. Everything about Cad Bane to me is just exciting. And like Count Dooku said, he's just somebody that needs no introduction, so we're gonna move on to number 3. And just like that, we're down to the top 3 characters, which I like to call the stinger characters because they're just the it stings that I can't play with them in Battlefront 2. And at number 3, we have Savage Opress. Now, just for a second, I want you to close your eyes and imagine loading into Heroes vs. Villains or Hero Showdown with Savage Opress and Darth Maul, and just imagine the voice lines between them and other characters that were also in the Clone Wars, and just imagine what Savage Opress would say to characters he's never even seen before. He'd just be a ruthless, slow, tanky kind of character in the game, and I feel like that's exactly not what we need, but what we want to see when we think of this guy being in the game. Now, I know at this point I have a lot of double-bladed villains in this list, but you also have to think about the fact that I can't add the Sith that I want to add for the simple fact that they'd probably just be too irrelevant to EA. I'm trying to keep it between movies 1 through 6, and the only reason that the Inquisitors are in there because they were in a game that EA actually released themselves. Because remember, this isn't just the top 10 villains that I want to see personally, this is just the top 10 most realistic, but at the same time characters that we want to see in the game. Now, coming in at number 2 is going to be Moff Gideon. Now, hear me out. The reason he's so high on this list is because you also have to think about the fact that The Mandalorian got a lot of people back into Battlefront 2. That show is responsible for a lot of people that you see loading into these games. So imagine if not only could the fans that have been playing this game play as Moff Gideon, but all the new characters that are new to Star Wars gaming can load in and already have a character that they're fresh off the gate familiar with. Just imagine, they'll be like, oh, I never gave Battlefront 2 a chance, but Moff Gideon just used this move the other day in the show. And just off that, they can probably assume, well, Darth Maul would probably have this, Dooku would probably have this, and all their other favorite Star Wars characters that would be in the game. It would just get them so invested into the game to the point where they couldn't get enough of it because as a Star Wars fan, you love this game. And that in itself is why you always hear people say that this game is not done, because there's so many more, there's just so much more potential that this game had to grow. But aside from the hype around The Mandalorian, the reason that Moff Gideon should be in Star Wars Battlefront 2 is for the fact that he's a character well known enough that people would load into the game and they'd want to play as. But being well known isn't enough. BB-8, I don't know why he's in the game. But aside from that fact, yeah, being well known is not enough. You actually have to be somebody that people want to see in the game, and Moff Gideon hands down is one of those people. He has character, he has potential for abilities. The only area he's really lacking in is costumes, which we can get over. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of the list, and if you don't know who number 1 is, I don't know how you don't. It's gonna be Asajj Ventress. Now, obviously, she's not a character we all want as bad as Ahsoka Tano, but come on, when we talk about adding Ahsoka, who's the other villain to match her that we talk about adding into the game? It's always been Ventress. I mean, you name it, she has it. Outfits, emotes, voice lines, her abilities would be off the chain. EA really just can't miss by adding Asajj Ventress into this game. She's definitely somebody we all wanted for a very long time, and deep down we just knew we weren't going to get, unfortunately. But hopefully, if we do end up getting a Battlefront 3, they'll take all these ideas that the community has been giving them into consideration and just make the best Star Wars game that anyone's ever played in their entire life. Now, I want y'all to comment down below and let me know what you think about the list that I made today for the top 10 missing villains of Battlefront 2. And remember, this is just a part 1. Part 2 will have their abilities and outfits, so stay tuned for that. But that's pretty much going to be all I got for you guys. Like I said, I love every single one of you. Please stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next one.